Hello, and welcome to Season 3 of the Studio 78 podcast. Welcome to the studio. So a couple of things. One, for those who are new here and you wonder why I call it Studio 78, it's because I like making things. So I really, even though I'm in the office right now, I consider it my studio, and I have like different places in my house where like my tables are full of stuff. So to me, everything is like a studio where I go to make stuff. And it's no different for this online podcast. And that's why I call it Studio 78. Of course, it's the year I was born too, because I turned 40 this year. I'm excited about that. I'm one with it. But anyway, I have an amazing guest with me today, and probably the title really caught your attention, so I'll dig into that in just a second. So for Season 3, I really wanted to focus on creators, makers, artists, and I wanted to have people on that are trying to figure out or have figured out how to sell something that they love. And most of the people on here are selling like physical products. However, the whole season isn't only people who sell physical products. I also am going to have somebody on here talk a little bit about health. I have a media company coming on, a planner. So I am mixing it up a little bit, but probably 80% of the people are talking about how they were able to make money selling something like a physical product online, either their art or something that they've made, or, you know, that they have manufactured. So I really wanted to dig into that. So if you're into that kind of stuff, or you just want to hear about everyday women doing extraordinary things, you have come to the right place. So I know I've been off for like 2 months. At first I was like, oh, maybe a month, then maybe 2 months. But you guys know how it is. It's summer. And I wanted to have a little fun, take a few trips, just do some things like veg out on the couch, just not do anything. So that first month was really doing that. And then the second month was me thinking about like, oh, how am I going to monetize this so I can sustain it? And then also I sent out like a boatload of emails to all the women that I wanted to interview this season. So I already have, it's crazy, like 12, I want to say I'm at 12 episodes recorded, and I got a couple of more to go. So they're all ready. All I have to do is edit them and then just slowly drip out this amazing content with these amazing women. So I'm really excited about that. So, and it was crazy. I got almost like 100% of everyone to say yes. And so that was really, kind of like warmed my heart, because really I like handpicked these people because I just was really impressed by what they were doing and thought that they would have, a lot of value to give to you guys. And so as far as monetization, I love to share that too, because I want you guys to know my thought process. So if you're thinking about having a side hustle or going out on your own, like you can understand what I'm doing. And so maybe you could do that too. But so my big thing, you know, of course, you guys already know I have the journal out there, the Life Cleanse, and I'm going to market that more. So that's really going to be big for me in the next 6 months. But also, you know, I want to get some sponsors for the podcast, you know, grow the podcast numbers and be able to get, you know, a couple of big sponsors on. And I already have one, which I'm excited about, which is SW Basics. And if you're into natural skincare, I'm sure you've heard of them. And if you haven't, you definitely need to check them out. And I am part of their ambassador program, which is pretty cool. And if you use my last name, Snow, just SNOW.com, you can get 15% off. How about that? How about them apples? So my first official kind of like sponsor for the podcast, and they have like serums, like they even sent me in the mail this hydrosol mist, which I like. You just kind of like spray it on your face, just as a refresher. Like I have peppermint and rose and all kind of good stuff. So if you've never checked them out, check them out, SW Basics. Or you can just go to nachesnow.com, SW Basics. But yeah, just use the code SNOW. And then also what I want to do this season is create some merchandise, because what I realized, like I did some soul searching. I'm like, what do you like to do, Nache? Do you like coaching? Do you like classes? Do you like physical products? What do you like to do? Do you want to do more art? And I like doing all the things. But what I really figured out about myself is I love to sell things. Like, I love to create stuff, and I love it to land on people's doorsteps. They open the box and they're like, oh my God, this is amazing. So I'm like, I definitely want to do more products. So I'm working on my website, creativeroute.com, that's been dormant for a while. I'm going to actually work with a couple of vendors and then do some drop shipping where I have like some t-shirts and prints and some other things done of my designs, because I'm a designer by background. So I'm looking forward to that. And that's a way for you guys to support the podcast if you like to. So stay tuned for that, and then I'm still going to do classes. I feel like I've been saying that the longest time, but that is still the plan. I just need to do it and get on camera and record. I feel like it's never a good weekend. Something is always wrong. My hair is a hot mess. My face is breaking out. Something, but I'm going to do it. Anyway, okay, enough about me. I just wanted to give you guys like an update. Like, that's how I plan to generate revenue for the podcast to help me keep this going. So hope that you support me in those endeavors. You've supported me a lot already, which I really appreciate. So let's talk about today's guest. So $32 to seven figures. Oh my God. So I'm not going to get all up into it. I'm just going to say, when I first heard her story, I was inspired by her, and I just knew I had to get her onto the podcast. And she just talks about, and I don't want to give all the juice away, but how she got to that $32, like what happened in her life for her to get there, and then how she was able to kind of dig herself out of that and then become like this 7-figure business. And if you've been listening to this podcast a while, like, you know me, it's like, it's not always about the numbers. So for example, with your business, you can make 60,000. Some people make 100,000. Some people make 1 million. But just as long as you can live comfortable and you're doing what you love, that's all that counts. This just happens to be an amazing story where she was able to make 7 figures. And I wanted her to just come on and then just share how she got there and to give all of us some really good actionable steps. So you're going to get that in there. And, she really kind of digs deep into even talking about like how ownership is the way that we can form generational wealth. And I mean, oh my God. And then we get into even hair care too. Most of you all know I have natural hair. And so I'm always looking for like the best products to use and what I should be doing, because I'm like terrible at it, which you will hear in this episode. But yeah, I mean, stay tuned and just listen to how just triumphant she was, just going through something in her life and then not letting that hold her back and really going forward with what she wants, and she's like, she holds a patent. She's like one of the only, I believe, African-American women to hold a patent on a natural hair care product. And I mean, even that, it's like, whoa, that is amazing. Most people would be like, I'm not even going to do the paperwork involved with that. I'm just, hopefully nobody like takes my idea. But yeah, she just talks about that and, how her mom pushed her. And it's just a great story. Okay, I'm talking way too much. All right, let's get into the first episode in the studio of season 3. Let me know what you guys think about this. Let's get to it. Hello, Gwen. Welcome to the Studio 78 podcast. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so happy to be here.
Absolutely. Before we jump into your business, can you just tell the listeners like a little bit about you and your background?
Sure. Well, my name is Gwen Jimmere. I'm the CEO and founder of Naturalicious. We create beauty solutions for busy women What that means is that every single one of our products fits into your lifestyle rather than consumes your lifestyle. So every woman out there who has any semblance of, a busy life, whether that's being busy from work or just family or a combination of all those things, it's very important for us to look good, not only for what we do, but also for ourselves, because we know that our hair is our crowning glory, and often how you feel about your beauty is how you feel about yourself. So it's important to feel good, to look good, and all those sorts of things. But the problem is that a lot of times, a lot of products they consume your day, right? So we all
Right.
have the dreaded quote unquote wash day, where for some people it literally takes them all day. It's an all day event for them. For other people, it may take them on a low end 3 hours, sometimes 5 hours from start to finish. And I'm talking washing, conditioning, deep conditioning, detangling, moisturizing, styling. Don't add in a hot oil treatment. You've spent a ton of time, and so our products cut those in half, cut that wash time or that entire routine for you. It cuts it in half. And so
Mm.
people, actually more than half. So for example, myself, I used to spend 3 hours on my hair, just going from start to finish to a finished done style. Now
I
I spend about
know.
15 minutes because I use Naturalicious. And so that's not uncommon for our customers. And so that is what we do. That's what we specialize in. That's what we're known for. Um, and we are sold in stores like Sally Beauty. We're also in Whole Foods. We have some other major retailers coming up pretty soon. And other than that, I'm a mom to a awesome little 7-year-old superhero. Um, and I hail from Detroit, Michigan.
So I guess I'm going to start from, maybe just the beginning of Naturalicious and how you thought of this idea. And then I kind of like want to end with just like the products themselves, because what you said resonates, because I have natural hair, and I will tell you that I'm just like, well, sometimes I'm not going back to the creamy crack, but sometimes I'm like, why did I do this? Because it takes twice as long to do my hair,
Mm-hmm.
right? And it seems like the
Yes.
wash and go isn't like a real thing.
No, the wash and go is such a misleading term. Like most people, very few people can literally wash and go. Like you got to do all these steps in between, and people get
Right.
frustrated, and they're just like, forget it. And so yeah, I totally, totally know the struggle. Trust me. But with the thing with wash and goes, not to kind of go off on a tangent, but the thing
Oh
with wash and
yeah.
goes is that a lot of people don't realize you have to train your hair to be able to do a wash and go, and oftentimes that requires a lot of fixing of things that either you've done unintentionally to your hair,
Mm.
unknowingly, or kind of clarifying a lot of those built up products that you don't realize are still sitting on your hair. Even though you've washed it several times, some of that stuff doesn't always come off completely. And so a lot of times a wash and go that doesn't actually, look like much of anything is due to the fact that either you've got, your hair is being weighed down from buildup of old products that haven't been clarified, or it's because you're in need of severe need of a trim, or you maybe need to do some hot oil treatments, or a lot of us we there's tons of products available for us nowadays, but most of us, quite frankly, we don't know what to do with our hair, and so
Right.
there's a lack of education in the industry, which I try to kind of be that guy to help people understand what to do with their hair, regardless of the brand that they use. Because I really do care
Mm-hmm.
that you love your hair and therefore you love yourself. But yeah, a lot of the times the wash and go frustration has to do with one of those two things.
Now, I totally agree with you, because it's interesting. I know there's going to be some people who might boo me, but like sometimes when you notice like the products aren't working in your hair, like then I'll at least use like that weekend like a sulfate shampoo, just to make sure that I'm getting like all of that residue out of my hair, and so it kind of like takes the products again. But I know there are some, I guess, shampoos that don't have the sulfate that's will do that same thing, right? Will really wash your hair and get all those old products out of it.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And yes, you are probably going to get ripped a new one for saying that you're going to use a sulfate shampoo. But a more natural option for anyone who's listening who wants that is that you can simply use apple cider vinegar as a clarifying treatment. And you don't want to do this too
Mm.
often. You want to do it at most once a month, because apple cider vinegar is very acidic, whereas our hair is very alkaline. So if you use it too often, you'll screw up the pH balance of your hair, and then you'll have like brittle hair, which is obviously counterproductive to what you're trying to do. But if you do it once a month, just make sure that you dilute it. Do not put full strength apple cider vinegar on your hair for the same reason I just mentioned. But you want to dilute it. So 1 part apple cider vinegar to about 6 parts of water, and you dilute it, extremely well, and then you just go ahead and pour it on your hair. Close your eyes because it's acidic, so it might burn your eyes if you get in there. But you pour it on your hair all over, and you'll find that it is unlike any other clarifier anywhere. Like they make apple cider vinegar like shampoo. Like no, bump that. Like use straight up apple cider vinegar because there's nothing like it. As long as you dilute it, I just got to make sure that people dilute it because sometimes people use it full strength and it'll mess up their hair. You got to make sure you dilute it. Again, 1 part apple cider vinegar to 6 parts of water.
Okay, y'all heard this. I'm gonna try it. Okay, I'm gonna try to make that step. But it's just like because I know exactly what you're talking about, and it's like you do all this stuff to your hair, and then you're like, wait a minute, my twists aren't holding. What's going on? Oh, it must be old product.
Yeah.
So for the audience that doesn't know your story, how did Naturalicious like even start?
Well, Naturalicious started a lot similar to how a lot of beauty brands start, a lot of small startup beauty brands start. It was a necessity for me. And you got to understand, this was about the company really started as a legit company 5 years ago. But 2 years before that, I was in the space where I needed to find products that were natural, organic, worked extremely well, and didn't take up my whole day. So those 3 things were things I needed. I couldn't find anything that fit those 3 categories. Now, I could find products that some were natural, some said they were natural and they weren't really natural. But nevertheless, I could find products that, were generally natural. I could also find products that worked pretty well, but usually not both, right? And remember, this is 7 years ago. So this may seem like, nowadays we can find this stuff. But back then, this was not even 10 years ago. It was really hard to find a product that was truly organic and natural and worked really well. A lot of times the natural products, they didn't work so well. And then the chemical based products worked extremely well. So it was like, where's the balance here? And then if you were lucky enough to find one that fit both of those buckets, you were not going to find one that didn't cause you to take up your whole day. And at that time, I was a new mother. I had just had my son, and I was, realizing that, babies don't care if you need 4 hours to do wash day. They're like, look, feed me, bathe me, play with me, hug me. You're on their time. And so no longer no longer did I have the luxury of spending all this time on my hair. And so that became my mission, to find something that accomplished all those things. So I go to the store, can't find what I'm looking for. I come home and I start looking through my cabinets, and I'm like, what do I know works well for hair? Okay, I know olive oil, got that. I know grapeseed oil, got that. So I'm just looking through my cabinets in my pantry, trying to find what I have in my kitchen that will work well for hair. Luckily, my mother is a master herbalist, so I called her up as well, and I asked her some questions. Yeah, she helped me through some things, but at the end of the day, it was still a lot of trial and error for me coming up with a system. And it took me about 6 months to come up with a true, great, truly organic, truly natural system that worked great for my hair. And I was going from spending, like I said, 3 hours to about 15 to 30 minutes on my hair, and it was great.
Which is
and that was
amazing.
It was like the gates of heaven had opened for me. And it was I was still working in corporate America at this time, so things were real demanding. My son was a newborn. I was still married at the time, so I'm trying to be a wife and all that. And I you know I remember about 18 months after I came up with the system, I found myself going through a divorce. But prior to that, friends started asking me, what do you use on your hair? Your hair's looking so good. I was posting pictures on social media, and it was never designed to be a business. It was just like, hey, you guys, I'm really excited about my natural journey. Look at me. Whoop, whoop, whoop.
Right.
Kind of
Look at my curls.
Yeah, look at my curls. Look at my waves. I got waves. I'm making them seasick. That kind of thing. And that was it. But people started asking, what are you using? What are you doing? I was like, oh, I got this little stuff I make at home. and they would ask me to send it to them, and I would send it to them for free. It was never a business. And then they would use the stuff, and I was happy to make it for them because it became a hobby for me. And next thing I knew, their like friends and colleagues were asking where they could buy it. And
Mm.
so they were like, "Hey, my coworker at work, she wants to, buy your cream, or my mother-in-law, she wants to buy your shampoo or whatever." And so I was like, "Oh, let me set up a little makeshift website." So that's what I did. And it was a very organic, kind of turning point where it became a business. Like I said, about 18 months after that, I found myself going through a divorce, and I got laid off 30 days before my divorce was final. So I like have
Life
no
is
money.
weird like that, right? It just like throws
Oh
everything
my
at you
God.
at one time. It's
I'm
like,
like,
can I get a
God,
break?
what have I done? I haven't taken nobody's man. I haven't done wrong by nobody. Like, why is this happening to me? And so I ended up I was going through that situation, and I got laid off. And I remember thinking, my son was almost two at this point, and I'm like, you know what? I'm so tired of the rat race. I don't want to have to go back to like a 9 to 5 job. I really love this hair thing. I would love to turn this into a business, but I only have $32 right now because I was the
Right.
breadwinner of the house, and I was paying my lawyer fees and his lawyer fees, and
Ugh,
um, I'm suddenly a single mother.
right.
As well. And so I'm like, I got this mouth to feed. I got $32, and here I am talking about I'm not gonna go find a job.
Ugh.
So that is the
And
situation with my
divorces are
parents.
expensive. They will
Yes,
wipe you out. Yeah.
yes, exactly. But I have been praying, and I've been saying, God, tell me when is the right time to turn this hobby into a business. When should I leave my job? And I don't do well with subtleties. I need clear and convincing signs, and I asked for
Mm.
that. And I don't know what's more clear convincing than, look, you don't have no money, you don't have no second income, you got to make this do what it do. And so I
Right.
went home, and I started. I had so much clarity that day. It was like, here, what can I do with this little business to make money today? And so I would
Mm.
go to the farmers market here in Detroit, and I would take my son, and he was 2, and he was really cute, and I would kind of use him as like my model. And I would get
Right.
all the people to come over and look at him and look how the products work on his hair, and I would totally use him to help me sell the product. And they would buy it, and I would sell out. And then it just so happened that a Whole Food store was opening in Detroit, and that store was opening. I took myself down there. I pitched them like my life depended on it, because it pretty much did. And I got my first purchase order that same day. And it was just one
Wow.
store. It was just one store, but I
But
used
it's
that store. I made it
something.
seem, yeah, I made it seem like we were in every Whole Foods. I was like, y'all, we in Whole Foods now, and people, I use that leverage to validate the brand to people, because when you go into Whole Foods, you already know what the price point is probably going to be. You
Right.
already know what the type of quality to expect. So there were a lot of questions that I didn't have to answer anymore, just because we were in that
Right.
one store. And that validated the brand to customers. It validated to other retailers. It validated it to the Obama administration, because we ended up getting a phone call from them during President Obama's second inaugural ball, asking us to include our products in his gift bags.
Which is
And
amazing.
a huge, huge, huge
It's like
opportunity.
part of
So
history. That's like huge.
yes, so all those little wins, I took, and I leveraged it every time they happened, and grew the business. And that was 5 years ago. That I was going through all of that, and like I said, now we're in Sally stores around the country. We're in a lot more Whole Food store now than just one. And we're on
Yeah.
about 4 different continents. We're sold in about 2,500 stores.
So a couple of questions. Well, one, I just want to point out to the audience, like the fact that you just went in there and was like, "Hey, I've got this product," and you went in there and pitched them, because a saying that I always like to say, I think I might have got it from my mom, is like a closed mouth doesn't get fed. So if you
Mm-hmm.
don't ask for it, it ain't gonna happen, you know? So that's a huge lesson learned. But another question I have, because people sometimes get caught up in like, well, how do I do this? So for you, like the packaging, how did you work out the packaging when you first started? And then when you found out you were in Whole Foods, did the packaging stay the same? Did you have to change it?
Yeah, I've changed my packaging about 3 times. And
Mm.
so this most, if you go to our website now, you'll see our most current iteration that we've had for a couple of years now. But I will say, just start where you are and work with what you've got. Because when I pitched Whole Foods, I mean, obviously we're on audio, so I can't show you the package, but I had the wackest packaging in the history of evers. Like seriously, my packaging, it was, if you can imagine, a white bottle with a white label and like a blue dot. Like that's pretty much what it was. It was whack, right? It was so horrible. And but I had created, and it looked like I had created it in my bedroom because I'm not a graphic designer by any stretch, but I needed a label, and I made it. That was my packaging. And at the time, I actually thought it looked good.
Right,
But
right.
in hindsight, it was like, oh my God, this was so terrible. But I
But
went
hey, the
in there, and
product
if you
worked.
yeah, and if you can imagine, like when you go to a conference and they provide lunch for you, and they give you like your little like lunch, it comes like a little white box.
Oh
You know what I'm
yeah.
talking about?
Yep.
That's
It's like the
what my hair
folding
care
one, I
system
think.
came
Yeah.
in.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah,
girl.
I know
That's what the hair care
exactly.
system came in. And I pitched them with that lunchbox. And I was
Mm.
like, this is my system. I had my little label on it. I was all proud of it, because I'm thinking I'm being, creative with the lunchbox thing. And I went in there, but the value proposition of what I was presenting, I believe, far outweighed the packaging itself. And I think they figure, if
Mm-hmm.
we give this girl a chance, she's going
Yeah.
to change this packaging. Like they never told me to change my packaging, none of that. But when I went in there, I immediately went in there with, here's what's in it for you. And that's how you always have to
Mm-hmm.
approach any pitch, any meeting. A lot of
Mm-hmm.
times we start with what we want, and quite frankly, the person on
Mm-hmm.
the other end does not care what you want.
Right.
They may act like they care, but they don't care. They want to know what you can do for them. How are you going to move these products off of our shelves? How are you going to make us money? How are you going to bring us new customers that we don't already have? And so
Mm-hmm.
that's how I pitched them. And that's what I believe won me the the purchase order. They gave me the purchase order within 20 minutes of my pitch, even though I had this
Wow.
terrible packaging. Now, over
Wow. They
time,
believed in you. Yeah.
they believed in me. Yeah. And my packaging has changed. Like I said, over time, we had a second iteration that someone else created. And it was cool for a little bit. And then we decided to rebrand and go for a more premium packaging sort of look, which is what we have now. And that will
Mm.
be more than likely our final change. And it's kind of like, when you see the Naturalicious, products on the shelf, it's us. And so, yeah, I mean, don't be afraid to not have it all together.
Mm.
You don't have to have everything figured out. You just have to start, because you'll learn a lot along the way. You'll learn about branding. You'll learn about
Mm-hmm.
creating an actual brand look, a brand
Mm-hmm.
aesthetic that is synonymous with your brand name. You'll figure out all that stuff. I mean, even the Coke bottles don't look how they looked when Coke started. So
Right.
don't
Right.
feel like you have to have it all laid out. And I think too many people are trying to get to that perfect look or that perfect situation. There's never a perfect situation. Everything can always be improved, and done is better than perfect. So just get
Mm-hmm.
it done and then figure it out along the way. Because if you stay tenacious and you stay persistent, you will figure it out. You just have to
Mm-hmm.
get started in the first place.
And believe in it. And then question two, so at the time you started it out, you're like, oh my God, I don't even have any money in the bank right now. Like, how did you end up making the finance piece work? And at what point were you like, okay, I'm profitable, I can live off of this?
Well, um I didn't have another income option, right? So for
Yeah.
me, we had to be profitable from the get go, because it's not like I had a second income in the household. It's not like I had like, a rich uncle or rich parents who were funding me as I kind of figured it out, right? So for me, it
Right.
was use, spend what you have and don't spend more than that, right?
Mm.
So it was okay. You have $32. Okay, so we're gonna go to um, the the farmers market, and we're going to get enough product with this $32, and then we're going to sell that stuff. So we're going to flip it, we're going to sell that, and ideally we're going to make $300, right? So we're going
Mm-hmm.
to make $300 today, and then we're going to go home, we're going to pay the light bill, we're going to pay whatever other bills I can pay out that $300, and the rest of it is going to go back into the business, and we're going to buy more materials to make more product, right? And that's how it
Mm.
went. It was a very grassroots, very simple thing. And I think a lot of times we overcomplicate stuff. We look at TV and you see people coming out the gate, guns blazing, with investments, and they've got all this
Right.
money. Yeah, and it's just like, that's sexy because it's on TV and it's sexy and that's what gets viewers. But that's really not how most businesses start. Most businesses aren't doing, $500,000, $1 million in their first year. It's not how it usually works. But that's what we see, and I think that's what people
And we're
have.
like, how can we do that? Yeah.
Right. You're like, man, you see these people on social media and you read things like, the Forbes article with Kylie Jenner, and you're like, man, she's $900 million
Right.
and she's only 21. I'm, however old anyone is. Let's say they're like 30, I'm 35 and I don't have anywhere near that. You start comparing yourself, but that's not reality
Yeah,
for
that
most
comparison
people.
trap. Yeah.
Yeah. And so luckily, I'm very happy to say that Naturalicious has been in business for 5 years. We are a debt free company. We don't owe anybody. I
Mm.
own 100% of the company. And we do, over 7 figures a year. So it's very
Which is
possible
amazing. Yeah.
to not be, belabored with debt and feel like you have to, take in investors before you're ready. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with investors, but if you don't take them at the right time, you can really set yourself up for failure. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm very happy to say that. But again, that has come from me being in a place where I didn't have the option
Yeah.
to, I didn't have credit because all my credit cards were maxed out from dealing with this divorce situation. And once
Right.
I paid those off, I was like, I don't want any debt as long as I can prevent it. And so we've grown very, very organically. I do not hire anyone unless the business, or even outsource a job, unless the business cannot survive and
Mm.
grow without a new person, right? So
Mm.
we will
Mm-hmm.
stick with,
Mm-hmm.
we had a one person shipping team for a long time.
Right.
And she did her thing, and even before her, it was me. Like, I had people who made the products, but I was the one who was in there shipping, because
Mm.
you as the entrepreneur, you're the only person, unless it's your mama or maybe your
Right.
siblings or something like that. But you're the only person, and even your mom's going to eventually complain, right? But you're the only person who will work, who work crazy hours for free.
Get it like through,
Nobody else is going
right.
to do that and not complain. You're the only person,
Right.
so you are your greatest asset. So for me, it was like, I'm just going to ship these products. But it got to a point where I had so many other responsibilities with the business because it was growing, that I could
Yeah.
my shipping time was being affected because of that. So then I had to bring somebody else in,
Oh.
and that's
Mm.
that's how I approach everything, even now. And so I'm very grateful for those very humble beginnings, because I didn't have the option to do otherwise. But it
Mm.
taught me, here's how you grow a business without being riddled with debt, and it's the most freeing thing to not. People always talk about, oh, there's good debt. Like, look, debt is debt. At the end of the
It's
day,
debt. You owe
it is
somebody.
it's a burden,
Yeah.
and it's the most freeing thing to not have it. So,
Yeah, and another thing too, I'm sure like now that you're a seven-figure business, like this is all figured out. But in the beginning, another question I get from people too is like, especially that's coming from, a 9 to 5 job, is like giving up retirement and also health insurance. So for you in the beginning days, like how did you deal with that?
well, I had Obamacare,
Mm,
and that was amazing. I mean, at the time, I didn't have a whole lot of money, and it was partly income based.
mm-hmm.
Luckily, my son and I were in really good health, and so we didn't have any, like, pre-existing conditions or anything like that. So I think our insurance combined was like $80 a
Oh
month at the
wow.
time. I'm just way more than that now, because we have a different administration in office that has
Right.
done some things, that has changed it up a lot. But at the time, yeah, it was like $80, and it was such a godsend for me because I really couldn't afford. I didn't have, a job. Cobra is super expensive, so I
Mm.
couldn't afford that. And so Obamacare really was that saving grace. My son was still 2, so he was still, getting his, like, little kid shots that they have to get at that age, and all
Oh
those things. And
right.
so a lot of those costs that even he used to get really sick and stuff in the wintertime a lot, and we would have to get medicines, and all those would have been really, really costly for me. So I was very lucky to have started my business pretty much at the time when Obamacare was kind of brand new.
Mm.
But obviously, the cost for that same exact plan has increased exponentially since we have a different person in office. So,
Which is
so
unfortunate,
yeah.
but that's kind of like good to know, because I think a lot of people struggle with that, and sometimes
Mhm.
they'll end up staying where they are even though they're unhappy because of health insurance or like retirement. And then, I know, you were talking about shipping, and I remember hearing, I think it was like your interview on Harry TV, that you use like a program called Step to help with that now. Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah, I've used them. They've been with me ever since I started. They were my first actual staff members. So STEP, for those listening, is a program. It's based here in Detroit, but I'm sure they have, similar programs around the country. It stands for Services to Enhance Potential. And essentially, the folks who work on my production line are special needs. And so STEP works to place special needs workers who are looking for jobs with employers who need staff. And I love it. For me, it was like, even though I'm starting and I don't have a whole lot of, money at the time, and I don't have a ton of um, resources, I want to make sure that this business has a give back component.
Mm.
And it was important to me to not just, I mean, it's one thing to just give money, which is fine if you have it, but I didn't really have just money to give, because like, and you can't just give somebody like $20, like an organization $20. You know what I mean? You got to give them
Right.
like 2,000 to 20,000. I didn't have that to sit around, but I was like, I do need labor, I do need
Mm.
workers, and so what if I can teach these people to fish as opposed to just giving them fish, right?
Mm.
And that was my thing. So I'm like, okay, so I bring them in. They can actually learn skills that they can either choose to work for me forever if they want to. They can use it for another job if they choose to leave at some point, or if they want to start their own businesses. I mean, they see me there every day running a business, being an entrepreneur. They learn through osmosis from me, but they're also
Mhm.
learning skill sets. Like, they're trained in everything that has to go on in our warehouse. So there's,
Mm.
we have to make our products, we have to bottle them, we have to put the labels on, we have to cap them, we have to prepare them. If it's a wholesale order, we have to put them in what's called case packs. So we sell to stores in cases of 6. So every product we sell to a store, they buy at least 6 of them. So it comes in a pack. So they know how to
Mm.
put the case packs together. They know how to prepare everything for shipment. They know how to do everything there is to do in that warehouse. So again, whatever path they choose for themselves, they've learned a wide array of skills that can take them extremely far places. And the thing that warms my heart so much about it is that statistically, special need people who have special needs who are actually employable, only there's about 94% of them that are actually unemployed, even though they're
Mm.
employable. And the reason is, a lot of employers think that they're going to be slow. They think that they can't do the job well,
Mm.
as well as someone who is not special needs. And so for me, it's like, it's not that you're disabled, it's just that you're differently abled, and you need to
Yeah.
be taught in a different way, um, and maybe at a different pace. And to be honest,
Mhm.
they are my most loyal team members. They have been with me. Like, I have one, his name is Anthony. Anthony is like, I don't want to work nowhere else ever. I'm gonna be here until she get rid of me. And and he is like ride or die. Anytime we have like media who comes through, they're like, does anybody want to be on camera? He always got his hand raised, so they are, and they crack me up. They're so funny. But yeah, I love working with them. And it also, it's a good thing too for my son to see. My son is 7 now. He actually works in the business as well. And he sees them. So he's kind of like growing up with this knowledge of, it's
Oh
important to give
yeah.
back to the community that, is supporting you. And so it's a really,
Mhm.
really awesome thing.
Oh, that's amazing. And then
Thank you.
I wanted to ask, of course, got to get into the products, but, and I'll make sure to, of course, include the links to all of your websites, but you have a personal website, and I know on there you have like a page where you offer people like one-on-one strategy and also how to, keep people from stealing your ideas. And I also see like the 7 steps for like building a 7-figure business, which I think is
Mhm.
like amazing. So you're like teaching other women how to do that. So can you just talk a little bit about what made you decide to like start offering those services?
Well, I would get a lot of questions about stuff like that, right? It would be like, well, how did you get your patent? And how did, what can I do? And I'm not, I'm by no means a lawyer. So I'm very clear, like, look, this is my disclaimer. I cannot give you legal advice, but I can tell you what I did. And I still advise that you go see a lawyer, but this is what I did, I also would get people all the time saying, well, okay, you started with, a lot of times people want to know, there's this whole thing about like, okay, she started with $32, but a lot of people are like, well, how did you
Mm-hmm.
go from $32 to over 7 figures? And for a lot of people, they need like the step by step. And while
Mm-hmm.
everybody's path is different, I can give you somewhat of a guide as to how I did it and how you can do it as well. And so that's where a lot of it came from. And I love teaching. I get a lot of requests to be to be a mentor for people, and I don't have the, as one person, I don't have the bandwidth to be a mentor for everybody. But if I can
Right.
create these like courses or classes for people, I can kind of, instead of just being a one to one sort of relationship, it can be like a one to many. So I can help so many other people.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times we don't feel like we can do it until we've seen it done. And so these are kind of like my way of being that mentor to several people at one time, kind of, casting a net everywhere and helping, several entrepreneurs or potential entrepreneurs at once grow their businesses instead of just one person at a time.
And what I thought was amazing too when I like first heard you on the podcast is like you're the first African American woman or woman of color period, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, to hold a patent on a natural hair care product. And I was like, wow, that's so weird because you would think someone, people have been doing like natural hair care products for so long, but you were the first one. So I was just like, wow, that's amazing. So I was like, I wonder what it was with other women of color who have created products in the past that either deterred them or made them give up or made them not even try to get a patent on their product.
Yeah. I honestly, I have to give all credit to my mother for the patents. I did not think I could get a patent on a hair care product. I didn't think that was possible. And she kept pushing me. It's like, you should just try, just see if you can. You never know. And I'm just like, Mom, that's a lot of money and a lot of time. And I didn't have the money to do it because it costs, anywhere from $18,000 to $20,000 on average
Yeah.
to get that done. And again, I was a newly single mom. My business was new, so it was like, okay, I've got to figure out how to get this patent on my own without the help of an attorney. And so that's what I did. So I basically, instead of paying a lot of money, I spent a lot of time learning patent law, teaching myself the law, figuring out what what was needed, how I could overcome any objections that the patent office might have to giving me a patent, all those sorts of things. And I did it. Um, but the nice thing about what has come from that is that, yes, I have a patent and it's great, but a lot of people, like you said, they don't even one even think about protecting their inventions. And two, a lot of people are not, they won't go to market with their product because they're worried that someone's going to steal it. And
Right.
you know having that intellectual property is so great because it's great leverage for so many things. So for example, in the hair industry specifically, you hear a lot of times people say, "Don't sell the company, girl. Don't sell it. Make sure you keep it black, keep it strong." And that's great. The problem with that is that a lot of us don't understand business, right?
Hmm.
And a lot of times businesses are designed, or should, I'm not gonna say should be, but some of them could be designed to be investments, rather than something you hold, you like hold on to forever, right? Um,
Mm-hmm.
and with that said, if you own your intellectual property, and let's say you decided to sell your company, no matter what your company is, you can sell your company and still own the intellectual property, which means you're still getting royalties off of everything that's ever sold. Now
Mm.
you can put that royalty structure into your exit contract if you choose to when you sell, but you're going to get a lot more for it when you have that patent. Another thing you can do is you
Right.
can sell the business and you can sell the company and still own the business. So, for example,
Oh.
you can sell the company to whomever you choose to sell to, but if you own the intellectual property and you don't sell that part of it, then you still
Mm-hmm.
technically own the business, right? Because you can then
Right.
take that and you can do whatever you want to with it. You can create another product. Now, I mean, I don't want to get too deep into it, but if you're going to sell the product, the company that you're selling to is probably going to want to get the patent. Well, that patent is another, or your trademark, or your copyright. Those intellectual property pieces are another piece of leverage. So that comes with a
Mm-hmm.
separate dollar amount because the
Right.
patent itself or the trademark or whatever, like for example, the Nike swoosh is I don't know the number specifically, but last time I looked, the Nike swoosh and the Nike name, the trademarks of those
Mm-hmm.
are actually worth more than the company itself. Now, this was a long time ago. So now anybody who's listening, don't hit me up on social media and be like, well, they nah, 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 nah. Listen, I'm already telling you that I haven't looked at this in a long time. But when I did look at it, this was several years ago, the name and the swoosh were worth more by themselves than the company itself.
Wow, that's
So the
crazy.
owner of Nike could sell Nike and still own the trademark and actually own more to basically sell the company and still own the business is what I'm saying. You know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So don't hesitate to get your trademarks, to get your patents, to get your copyrights. Because it provides you a lot of leverage. And unfortunately, in our community as entrepreneurs, we don't have a lot of it. So we need to own as much as we can. That is the
Mm.
way to ownership is the way that we form generational wealth.
Yeah. Yeah. Great advice. And then just for hair, I mean, and I'm sorry, people, I did not leave enough time for hair. but before we wrap up here, what's something that, after creating these, amazing products that you've learned about natural hair, like some tips that people can keep in mind? Because I do feel, it's like overwhelming at times because you have like all these YouTube videos, and then you go to Instagram, and then you go to Pinterest, and everybody's hair is different, and everybody's trying to figure out if they are 3A, BC, or 4A, and
Mm-hmm.
it's like, where do you even start? So I just was curious if you have any advice for people out there that are like really struggling.
Yeah, that is a real issue. One thing I always say is that 5, 10 years ago, we were excited to just have a product or product line that was made for us, right?
Mm-hmm.
Nowadays, we have entire aisles in stores dedicated to us. The problem with that is that most of us still don't know what to do with our hair. So you got all these tools and you still in the dark, right? So how is that?
Right.
How can that be, right? And the
Right.
reason is that you have to understand from a marketing perspective, and I understand this because that is my professional background. Prior to starting Naturalicious, I was the global digital communications director for Ford, right? And so
Mm-hmm.
my entire, professional career after graduate school has always been in marketing and advertising, communications, and that kind of thing. And so I think about these sorts of things all the time. But you have to understand that there's a lot of money in women of color, particularly Black women, not understanding what to do with their hair, right? Because when you're
Mm-hmm.
confused, you're willing to spend more and you're willing to spend more often. So what you
Mm.
see is you see women such as us purchasing product after product after product, becoming product junkies. Not because we want to be product junkies, not because we're just enamored with buying product, but because we can't figure out what's going to work for us, right? And so we're
Mm-hmm.
searching for the right thing. And we all have that drawer, I call it the drawer of shame or the cabinet of shame, where it's the products that you've tried and they sucked and you put them in a drawer. And then when your friend comes over, you try to give it to her, right? And
Right.
so we all have
Like,
that.
and you
And
had them natural hair care parties and you swapping products and yeah.
yes, yes, exactly. Nobody else, no other culture goes through this, right? This is just us. And it's interesting because a lot of us, we are, in our 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, and we're relearning our hair, which on one hand is great, right? Because it's like we're embracing our hair, we're embracing our beauty, which is amazing. On the other hand, it's still frustrating for a lot of people because it's like, okay, I'm trying to
Hmm.
embrace this hair, but I don't feel like I look good in it. So
Yeah.
I'm not really embracing my beauty because I don't feel beautiful, right?
Mm.
So what I encourage people to do is to go to Facebook, look up uh, look up Naturalicious Nation. So this is
Mm.
my group on Facebook. Is a private group, and every Thursday I do a show called Real Hair Revelations. It has nothing to do with Naturalicious products. It is totally brand agnostic, and I get on there every single week and I teach a class on a various hair topic, usually something that's trending. If it's
Ooh.
not trending, like everybody was into rice water like a few months ago, so they all
Oh
want to know about rice
yeah.
water, that sort of thing. But just general evergreen topics too. Like, okay, you should stay away from sulfates, but do you really know why? Do you
Mm.
really understand what
Hmm.
sulfates are? Because when you understand the why behind it, then you're not just blindly going into something, right? You understand, okay, no matter what product I use, it doesn't matter if I use Naturalicious or brand A or brand B or brand C. I know that this is why I stay away from sulfates. So regardless of the brand that I choose, I'm I'm starting from an educated perspective. Right.
Hmm.
And so that's my whole objective with Real Hair Revelations is to teach you the tools that you need because there are so many products. People are suffering from analysis paralysis. They don't know what to pick. And there's very few places they can trust because nowadays there used to be a time where um, bloggers and things like that, they were just giving product recommendations because they truly like the products. But nowadays, a lot of the big brands are paying them a lot of money, and kudos to them for getting their money. I'm all about getting your money,
Right.
but
Right.
it's done a disservice to some of the consumer base
Hmm.
because you can't really trust what people say anymore. Because I mean, Jesus Christ, how many leave-in conditioners are you gonna love? You
Right.
can't
Like
love every
which
single one,
exactly.
but you can control what people say more so. I'm not saying 100%, but it's some people can be controlled more when you're paying them $1 because nobody's going to pay you to say you hate their stuff,
Right.
right?
Like, oh,
So if
this is
I'm
not working.
offering
It's
you
cakey. Yeah.
exactly, if I'm going to offer you $2,000 to say you love my shampoo, then you better say you love my shampoo. I'm not paying you, right? That's how
Right.
that's how it
Right.
works. And so before they were when they were not getting paid, or if they were only being paid in products, then a lot more of those testimonials may actually have been true. And
Hmm.
so the consumers nowadays, they don't really know what to pick. They don't know where to go. You go
Yeah.
on all these blogs. There's conflicting information. So most hair care information is it's either wrong, or it's misleading, it's
Hmm.
incomplete, or it's something else. But a lot of it is accurate. But how do you know what's accurate? You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
amongst all of that, how do you know what's right? So is my goal with Real Hair Revelations to kind of be that source. And I do all these videos. I usually extract them if I have time, and I put them on YouTube as well. And so they're available for anybody to watch. But if you're in the group, it's a private group, like I said. But if you're in the group, you have access to the community as well because a lot of people come in
Yeah.
there and they're frustrated, just like a lot of people listening. They're frustrated. They're like, I don't know what to do with my hair. I'm just here to try and get some information.
Right.
And they end up like we've got people in there who the beautiful thing that I love so much is that there's people now when someone asks a question, a lot of times I don't even get a chance to respond because they responded because they've learned what to
Mm.
do for their hair. And again, it has nothing to do with the product. Some people in there, they use and swear by Naturalicious. Some people don't use Naturalicious at all. They're just in
Hmm.
there to gain the knowledge. And so it's the one place on the web that I can guarantee that you will get the right information um, and have it be a very positive experience so that you can truly love your journey. And I'm so sorry. I
Mm.
took a long time to say all of that. But
No, that
I
was
really want to
good
drive home.
stuff, though.
I really want to drive home the point, of don't go to X, Y, and Z blog and assume that the information is accurate. Because some people will be like, oh yeah, you can use what do you call them? Silicones. You can use silicones.
Oh,
Other people
yeah.
will say silicones are bad. Some people will say silicones are
Right.
good. Some people will say, well, some silicones are okay. And then it's like you got to become a cosmetologist almost just to learn how to do your own
Right.
hair. You
It's
got to go to like chemistry
crazy.
school. Like, who wants to do that? So I strive to make hair care very simple because we have complicated it. The industry has
Hmm.
complicated it. And to be honest, natural hair is very easy to take care of. It's just that there's so much conflicting information and we don't know what to do, and so therefore as a community we're confused and we're frustrated.
Mm. No, you will see a request from me. I can't wait to join this group because I need some information.
We can't wait to
uh,
have you in there, girl.
well, a couple of wrap up questions. One is, wasn't in one that I sent you, but I'm just curious, just in talking to you, you went, it's so weird, like from $32 to a seven-figure business. And of course, there's so much wrapped up in there. There was so much hard work. I mean, there's a lot. But for you, I'm just curious, was there like one or two things that you're like, because I kept at this or because I did this, that helped me to get to where I am today?
Yes, for sure. um you have to invest, and I know you always hear people say invest in yourself, and it's like, what does that mean? You know what I mean? Like, does that mean that I should go to a bunch of conferences? Does that mean that I should invest in people? Like, what does that mean to invest in myself?
Mhm.
And I will say the best quote that I saw about business was, and I hope I get this right, I hope I don't screw it up, but the quote was, if you want to make $1 million, put yourself into circles where they would be mad if they only made $1 million.
Right.
And so I was like, man, that's a word, right? Like, praise Jesus, hallelujah. That is a word, right? You have to
Right.
put yourself around people, and people who would be mad if they only made a million in a year do not go to free networking events.
Right.
They're not doing that. They're
Yeah.
spending the money and they're going to much higher ticketed events. Now, you may not be able to go to every high ticket event. And it doesn't mean
Mhm.
that just because it costs a whole lot of money that you should be there. What it does mean is
Mhm.
that you need to find, and it's going to take some legwork on your part, find those circles. Where are those people? Who are the people that you admire in business? Whether they're huge names or whether they're like somebody who, is maybe not popular, but they're profitable, which is way more important to me than
Mhm.
popularity, right? So
Right.
where are these people hanging out? Because people with money hang out with people with money, right? And so if you can find out where those circles are and you insert yourself into there, you can't help but glean insights that will help take your business to another level that you would have never gotten to on your own, right? So that's the
Mhm.
first thing. The second thing is, literally, a lot of people don't want to do this, but you gotta invest in advertising. You really do.
Mm. Mm.
Um, People don't want to spend money on ads. They see these things on TV where they're like, oh, I've been in business for a year and a half and we make, $20 million a year now, and we've never spent money on advertising. Bull crap,
Mhm.
right? Like, I call bull
Mhm.
crap. And it's sexy, it sounds good, but it gets people thinking like, well, how come I don't spend no money on advertising and I can't even make a sale a day? But
Right.
you know
It's like
that's
nobody's
not
seeing you. Right.
right. It's not reality. You have to spend money on advertising, literal advertising. I'm not just talking marketing. Marketing is important, obviously, but marketing and advertising are two different things. Advertising has taken my business to a whole nother level that it did
Mm.
not have when it was just me out doing, vendor tables and showing up everywhere. Also, it's a way to work a lot smarter than harder, because
Mhm.
we all want that, what we dream of, the entrepreneur lifestyle, right? Nobody wants to build this thing and be working tooth and nail for the rest of your life. You want to build it, you want to hire people who can basically run the business for you so that you can go take these amazing trips that you want to take, and you can have this great time with your family. You can't do that if you got
Mhm.
to be vending at a different event every weekend, right?
Right.
And so literally advertising, Facebook advertising, Google AdWords, Google Shopping. We sponsor events. I'm really excited. We're sponsoring a really cool event in Florida in October. It's called the Choosy Lovers Food and Wine Weekend, and I'm really really excited about that. So that's another form of advertising. But that's one of our larger expenses, but it has also drastically
Paid
increased
off.
our revenue. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I remember posing a question on my Facebook page just to see what people would say, and I said, "Would you spend $5,000 to make 25,000?" And some people were like, "No," and I'm like, "Really?"
Right.
Some people were
You
like,
got
"No."
a
I'm like,
$15,000 profit. Right. Yeah.
right. But some people said no. But to them $5,000 is a lot, but
Yeah.
it is a lot, right? $5,000 is a lot of money to
It
spend.
is.
But if you make 25 off of it,
Oh,
right?
25. Yeah, even 20,000. That's a $20,000 profit, right? So it's like, yeah, it'll
Yeah,
hurt up front, but you're making 20,000 off of that 5,000. So it's a win.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Now, I will say, just to be frank, you hear these things about Facebook advertising and you hear, oh, you can start with $5 a day.
Right.
Look, listen here. You can't start. I mean, you can start with $5 a day, but it's gonna take you so long to be able to do anything. People who are really killing it with Facebook advertising, they spend over $1,000 a day on ads. I'm not saying that you
Yeah.
have to start out spending $1,000 a day on ads. What I am going to
But
say is that you have to
yeah.
start more than $5. So, can you
Mm,
spend $20?
yeah.
Right? Can you
Yeah.
spend $30 a day? Right? Can you spend 10? Can you spend anything over 5 or 10? Can you spend 20? Like, let's start with 20.
Right.
See how those do. And then the strategy is start with 20,
Mm,
figure out how to make the ads work for you, right? You gotta target them correctly and all that. But once you get the right mix and you start to see that it's converting for you, then double it. So instead of spending 20, now you're spending 40. So make
mm.
that do what it does for a little while. And when I say a little while, I literally mean like a couple days, like not weeks, right?
Right.
So $40. Now that's working for you. Now you're gonna double it to 80, right? And you keep doubling it. And you keep doubling it. And that's exactly what I did.
Mm,
And we doubled it. I mean, we were spending, I mean, it depends on the season and the month, because beauty has seasonalities to it. And
mm-hmm.
so, we've spent $500 a day. We spent $1,800 a day. It just
Mm.
depends. But on those $1,800 days, a lot of times we're doing like $10,000 a day. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like,
Right.
that's a huge conversion, but you have to make
Yeah.
sure you figure out the right mix. But I absolutely did not start out spending $500 to $1,800 a day. I started out spending, $20 a day. Here's the other thing I wanted to
Mm-hmm.
tell people. If you don't think you need to advertise, what makes you think you don't have to advertise if Coke advertises? Coke has
Right.
the
And
number
people, everybody
one,
knows Coke, right?
right? Coke has the
Right.
number one recognized brand in the world. The number one most recognized brand in the world, but they still advertise, right?
Right. Yeah.
Nike is another one of the top 5 most recognized brands in the world. They still advertise. McDonald's, right?
Yeah.
Like all these extremely well-known brands who would do just fine without
Mm-hmm.
advertising. They are still advertised. So if they need to advertise, what makes you think you don't have to?
Yeah. Truth. Mm.
So
Wow. Man, this episode is gold.
well, I'm glad.
Hope
Now I don't want anybody to hear me on social media like, Gwen said I gotta start spending $1,800. I didn't say that. Okay.
right, right.
I
It's the
said
build up.
start with 20. Yes. Start with 20. And then you'll start to see yourself um, you build on top of that.
Oh, amazing. And then one random question. What is one product you just, or it's anything you can't live without? Tech, makeup, it could be anything. Food, anything.
Oh my gosh. One product. Um, I'm going to say my phone, which is probably
Mm.
the answer that most people would give.
No,
But
not all the time. Yeah.
I think that, like, here's a really good example of this. My boyfriend goes camping every year with his family. They go camping for an entire week. They rough it, right? Like, this is
mm.
not glamping. This is them on the ground with the bugs.
Mm-mm.
No,
Mm-mm.
I have no parts of
Mm-mm.
that, right? So he goes for a whole week. And he's been trying to get me to go. We've been together 5 years. He tries to get me to go with him every year. And I'm like, nah. Right. And one of the reasons is not even because I'm like, I could. He's like, oh, it would mean so much to me. And I'm like, oh, I could do like one day or whatever. But to be honest, I can't be without my phone. They're in like an area where it's like no phone reception.
Right.
And I'm
You're like,
like, what am I gonna do? What am I gonna like fish? Like, what do you want me to do? So, one of the main reasons outside the bugs that I can't deal with is the fact that there's just no phone reception, and I got to be able to check in. Just can I make a phone call? I mean, I ain't got to be on Facebook. Can I just call somebody? So I'm
right.
definitely going to
Something.
say
What if
my
a
cell
bear
phone.
comes? Like what if an emergency happens?
Yeah,
Right.
like I can't do it. So, yep, my phone would. I'm pretty sure anybody who knows me would probably say Gwen's phone. She can't live without her phone.
And then can you just tell the listeners where they can find you and any other links or anything you want them to know about?
Yes, you can. Well, our website, you can find us at naturalicious.net. I'm pretty sure the spelling will be in the show notes, but it is
Absolutely.
Naturalicious.net. You can also find us on Instagram at naturalicious_beauty. And then on Facebook, of course, you can find us at Naturalicious, but I encourage you to join the Naturalicious Nation. Again, it's free. It is a private group, though. As long as you're not a troll or anything like that, you are more than welcome to join us. And it is a really amazing community of women learning how to care for their hair and just their beauty in general. Um, and yeah, it's the dopest spot on the web for consistently correct and accurate hair information to get you to the point where you're loving your hair.
Mm. Well, Gwen, this has been amazing. Thank you so much for coming on to the podcast.
Thank you for having me. It's been a blast.
I mean, oh my God. So I just want to say, like, all the women I have on this season are like this, just totally amazing. So just wait to get your mind blown. I think Gwen was absolutely fantastic. And she said one quote early on: don't be afraid to not have it all together. You don't have to have everything figured out. You just have to start. I want you all to take that away. Like, that is your action item at the end of this episode. Just start, Don't overanalyze it, overthink it. Just do it. You can modify it along the way. All right? Okay, so next week I have somebody who's kind of in the home goods business, and she's absolutely amazing and the sweetest gal ever. So can't wait to share that episode with you. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast and rate me on iTunes. We are now, I forgot to mention at the beginning of the episode, on Spotify. So if you're a Spotify person, you can look Studio 78 up there and I'll show up. And to support this episode, don't forget you can go to nachesnow.com/SWBasics, which will take you to their website, and you can use the promo code SNOW, SNOW, to get 15% off. All right. Well, I hope you guys are pumped for this week. So by the time the next episode has come out, you all should have taken some action to get something amazing done. All right. Till next time. See you later.